today I'm going to take a look at the SMPLTREK from Sonicware, however you say sample when you take the vowels out. I was sent this a fair few months ago, and I do get requests of a lot of people asking me to demo or asking if I'd like to demo bits of kit, and I only accept those requests if it looks like something that I think will be interesting for me, interesting for you, a bit of fun and useful. And I will only do a video once I've played with it a lot, I understand it, and more importantly, I think it's fun and I think it's useful, and I think you might think it's fun and you might think it's useful too. So it has been a fair few months, and why is that? Well, when I first got it, it was a little bit difficult to get into. That's not just the SMPLTREK's fault, it's my fault as well. It takes a lot of time to get into something new like this. You really do need to spend a whole weekend working out how it works for you, and how it works around your workflow, and how you can get it to work so that you enjoy it. And since I got it, there's been a fair few firmware updates. Sonicware are really good at listening to their clients, and they've now got a version 2, which for me is sent over the tipping point. I think it's a great little instrument now. Not that I wouldn't have before, I think, but it was just taking me too long to get into it. And luckily, over the past couple of weeks in the UK, we've had a stunning little heat wave. Let's not mention climate change at all. But it's been really nice sitting in the garden, playing with this little portable, well, it's a bit like a little musical Gameboy. You sit in the garden, getting a bit of sunburn. But I've really been enjoying myself with it, and despite it looking like a sort of a little toy from the 80s, it is actually a serious bit of kit. We've got all sorts of connections on it. We've got a guitar level in, or we can use the left and the right inputs for an external instrument, and I can then go through the mixer in this and use the effects. Plus, it's a class compliant USB device. We've got a micro USB next to the SD card reader, and all that works. I have tested it in Logic. It didn't need a driver, just did what it should, plug it in and it pops up. I've also got a half decent mic and built-in speaker, which are perfectly adequate for what you need them to do. I've used this mic in the little demo that I've got at the end of this, just to record some little percussive hits just from bits I got lying around on the kitchen table. And we've got plenty of multifunctional contextual knobs and encoders. You can twist and push A, B, C and D in the value knob, plus the Nintendo style cursor buttons. The 16 numbered circular ones are for selecting the scenes, or for XOX style programming in your sequences, and the touch sensitive square buttons are for playing the samples or selecting and muting the tracks. You've got 10 tracks, which can be drum kits, one-shot samples, loops, plus instrument tracks that are up to 8-note polyphonic, or you can have MIDI tracks as well. And these are organised as clips within scenes, a bit like Ableton or Roland Zenbeats or the Logic Grid View. And you can have 16 scenes. These can be up to 128 bars long, and each clip can be 128 steps, which at 16s equates to 8-bar loops, which is very handy if you're used to doing club mixes. And also we can drop it down to just 1 note per bar, so 128 bars, that's 128 separate notes that you can just plonk here and there if you're doing some ambient stuff without being repetitive. And thanks to Perfect Circuit for sponsoring this video. They're based in the US but ship worldwide, and they've got hands-on experience with all this kit. The website's also a great resource with loads of info and articles, including some words from me. I notice I've not called this a Groovebox, and that's because on top of the 10 MIDI tracks, loops, one-shots, drums, and whatever else you've got in there, we've got these 3 global tracks, and they sit basically underneath the whole song, so they're not bound by being in any specific clip or any specific scene, a bit like on the Roland MV1. So you can have a whole vocal take, a whole piano take, and a whole guitar take, for example, that sits on top of all the scenes. And on each of those we get 3 takes, so we've got 3 global tracks, and each of those global tracks has got 3 takes, which is just how you record stuff on a DAW. You pick the best bits from a few takes, which is really remarkable considering the size of this thing. It's also got effects. We've got a single insert effect plus a send and a master bus effect, and we've got an EQ for each track. Plus you can export any of your tracks or the whole thing as stems. But it's not perfect. What don't we get on this? We don't get randomization or probability like you get on Electron Kit. And from a sound design perspective as well, we don't have LFOs, envelopes, or filters that we can throw on the samples. So you can't find a beat, smash it to bits with a sample and an LFO, which is a little bit of a shame. In-depth editing of sequences is possible, but it's a little clumsy. Moving notes around to correct errors isn't possible as far as I can tell, at least, but you can delete individual notes and add new ones in step mode or record mode. It's just not as easy as on a DAW. Plus, we don't have an undo on everything. We do have some undos, but if, for example, you're recording a sequence and you're using these pads, and if you're as bad as me at using these pads, you won't get it right first take, so you'll want to either undo or go and delete stuff and go and edit things. Editing's a little bit cumbersome, so you think, I'll delete it, I'll undo it, and you've got to go into another menu to do that. So you've got to go into the clip menu, clear the clip, and then not clear the whole thing, but clear just the sequence, because otherwise we've got to then go and reset the step values. You do get used to those things, you do understand them, and once you've been playing it for a couple of days, you know, it's sort of second nature. Click, 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 and you're done. You do get editing of samples. It's not extensive, but there's offline time stretching, so you can keep beats in sync if you change the tempo. It's not instant like the VerseLab, for example, but it's there. And samples are 16 to 24-bit, 44, I think, to 96 kilohertz. It recommends 16-bit, 48 kilohertz. But everything on the global tracks is streamed live from the memory card, so there's no limit on them whatsoever. There is a limit on the size of drum hits. I'm not sure what it is, but I've not come across the limit yet while I've been using it. And this is really important. Preset data is all in here, but must be put onto the card for any of it to work. And that took me ages to figure out. So yeah, just there's a little lesson in reading manuals. So what are the new bits? Well, there's loads of navigation things that are really handy. Like we've got quick sampling, you just press and hold the track. We've now got auto save, auto beat slice. We can create a drum kit from the slices, and we can change the tempo from within the drum track, as well as being able to change the level of the hits in here rather than having to go and edit it elsewhere. And this is a massive one. We've now got unquantized timing for your sequences. So your MIDI tracks, your instrument tracks, and your drum tracks. And we can go in and we can really fine tune the start and the end point to those. Plus there are lots of little extra navigation things on top of the quick sampling, like moving from clip to clip edit without having to go to the home page. Setting up loops is easier, although not as slick as a dedicated looper. There are still a couple more button presses than I'd like, but it works. And there are lots of other bits I'm not going to go into here, but Sonicware are continuing to update it, and I wanted to show that at this point it is a good, fun little instrument. The things that can't be improved on with an update are things like the actual screen, which is very small. It works, you can get round, you can do everything you want, but sometimes it is a little bit like watching a movie through a keyhole, especially when you're trying to chop loops up. You just wish you had a big screen to do that, but it's doable. And as I say, as I've been sitting in the garden playing and obsessing over it, you know, it is a little bit like a challenge, a little bit of a Mario Kart challenge. A bigger screen will mean a bigger price tag, a bigger unit, and less battery life. So on balance, all in all, I've really enjoyed playing with this over the past few days. The sun has now gone in, so it's time for me to collect my little seashells from outside and go and edit this video. And I hope you enjoy it. If you do, please think about subscribing, ring the bell, join me over on Patreon, and check out my starskycar.com website. There's patches and there's samples, things you can buy, and some free stuff as well. Or check out the affiliate links down below in the description, because everything you can do to support the channel is massively appreciated. So enjoy this little jam I did in the sun, and I will see you next time.